On May 21, 1991, an act of terror didn't just take the life of a former prime minister, it completely and violently changed the course of a nation. This is the story of the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi, and it forces us to ask a really heavy question. Was this just the murder of one man, or was it an attack on the very future of India itself?
So let's just dive right into the event itself. This wasn't something that happened in the shadows. This was a moment of absolute public horror, and it all went down in the middle of a chaotic, crowded political campaign.
Okay, so picture this. We're in Sriperumbudur, a town in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. The date is May 21st, 1991. Former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi is there for an election rally, and he's doing what politicians do, working his way through a massive crowd of supporters. What was supposed to be a totally routine campaign stop was about to become the scene of a national tragedy. The attack itself was just brutally efficient. So Gandhi is campaigning for a political comeback, and he's approached by an assassin, a woman named Danu. She comes up to him, offers him a garland of flowers, and as she bows down in what looks like a gesture of respect, she detonates a belt of RDX explosives strapped to her body. The blast was so powerful, it killed Gandhi and 14 other people on the spot. It was a shocking public murder that sent a tremor through the entire country. Now, to really get the sheer scale of this tragedy, you have to understand the man at its center. I mean, who exactly was Rajiv Gandhi, and why was he such a huge target? You know, Rajiv Gandhi's journey to power was anything but planned. He was actually an airline pilot, and by all accounts, he had zero intention of ever getting into politics. But then, in 1984, his mother, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, was assassinated. He was literally thrust into the nation's highest office, becoming India's youngest ever prime minister. After losing power in '89, he was right back on the campaign trail in 1991, fighting for a political comeback. When you look back, his legacy is really one of sharp contrasts. On one hand, you have the architect of modern India. This was the guy who brought the computer and telecom revolution to the country, who gave young people a real vision for the 21st century. But on the other hand, his government was hit hard by the Bofors corruption scandal, which really damaged that clean, modern image he had. Now, here's where the story takes a huge, unexpected turn. You'd think the motive for his murder was rooted in domestic Indian politics, right? Well, nope. The roots of this assassination were actually across the sea, in the middle of Sri Lanka's brutal civil war. And at the absolute heart of this conflict was a group called the LTTE, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. These guys were a fiercely disciplined, totally ruthless militant group, and they were fighting for an independent homeland for the Tamil minority in Sri Lanka. And, as it turns out, they would become Rajiv Gandhi's deadliest enemy. This assassination was really the final, tragic step in a disastrous chain reaction. It all started in 1987. Rajiv Gandhi's government tried to play peacemaker and sent the Indian Peacekeeping Force, or IPKF, to Sri Lanka. The mission was supposed to be to disarm militant groups like the LTTE, but it backfired, big time. The IPKF got dragged into a bloody war, and the LTTE saw the whole thing as a massive betrayal. And who did they blame? They put the blame for all of it squarely on one man, Rajiv Gandhi. This quote just nails the motive perfectly. For the LTTE and its leader, this wasn't political anymore. It became personal. It was a vendetta. In their eyes, Rajiv Gandhi wasn't just some foreign leader. He was enemy number one. That explosion in Sriperumbudur didn't just end a life. It detonated a crisis right at the heart of the world's largest democracy. It created a massive political vacuum and left a nation completely paralyzed by shock and grief. The investigation that followed was just massive. It eventually led to formal charges against 26 people for their role in the conspiracy. This was the beginning of a super complex legal battle that would go on for decades. The immediate fallout was pure chaos. I mean, this happened right in the middle of an election. His party, the Congress Party, ended up riding this wave of sympathy to victory. But with his wife, Sonia Gandhi, refusing to take his place, it was P.V. Narasimha Rao who became prime minister. He had the huge task of leading a nation in mourning. And as a final tribute, Rajiv Gandhi was posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna, which is India's highest civilian honor. But the story doesn't end there. The real long-term impact of what happened that night in 1991, well, it wasn't just political. It would redefine India's future for years and years to come. Look, this single act of terror fundamentally reshaped India. It was a terrifying wake-up call, showing how conflicts in neighboring countries could spill over with devastating results. It forced a complete overhaul of security for the nation's leaders. And maybe most importantly, Assassinating a candidate during an election, that was seen as a direct attack on democracy itself. It cast this long, dark shadow over India's politics and its relationship with Sri Lanka for a very long time. And that brings us right back to where we started. The assassins from the LTTE, they absolutely killed a man that night. But in doing so, did they also kill the very specific future he represented? That vision of a modern, liberal 21st century India? That's a question that India, and frankly the world, is still grappling with today.